Maxim Boyko was flying into Miami from Russia to do a rap album earlier this year in January 2020. Everything seemed normal except for the fact that he had $20,000 cash on him. Customs agents were wondering what he was doing with that much money. For Maxim, it was easy to explain where the cash came from. He claimed it was money from rental real estate and Bitcoin investing. Customs agents didn't buy it, but they let him go anyway. But they did report him to the FBI, and they started looking into who he actually was. Maxim also goes by Plynofficial, which is the Russian rap name. We don't need to say that Plynofficial isn't a household rapper in the US, but Plynofficial was voted by MTV viewers in Russia as the 74th best Russian rapper. How much money does the 74th best rapper in Russia make? The source of all the money and wealth Maxim shows on his Instagram was questionable. He had pictures of himself on yachts and in exotic cars showing off cash. Who really was Maxim Boyko, and what did he actually do for that money? Maxim Boyko was born in the oil drilling town of Muravlenko in northern Siberia, close to the Arctic Circle. His parents were simple working-class people, so he wasn't exactly born poor, but the money he shows wasn't from his parents either. Maxim had always been into hip-hop. He was thoroughly influenced by the lives of rappers he saw on TV. He and his friends really got into the hip-hop culture. For example, they would break dance at different festivals in nearby towns. The music they were performing was influenced rappers making trap music in the US, and they were quickly making it a thing in their own town and surrounding areas. Except trap music in Russia had its own sound. Maxim and his friends formed a group called Swagga Music. They were actually one of the first groups to perform trap music in Russia before it got really popular. But the person who was the driving force behind their group and the local rap scene passed away. So Maxim didn't have a reason to stay as the local trap scene died down. Maxim had to figure out a way to make money. So he moved to Europe to look for work. Maybe in another universe, Maxim would have been a famous Russian rapper if his friend were still alive. Maxim moved on from the Russian trap scene and headed to Paris to look for jobs. But he ended up in South China as the job hunt in Europe didn't work out. Around March of 2013 was when he first started posting pictures of his cash on his social media pages. And his friends started wondering how he made all his money. He explained on his social media that he made money by being a trading rep for a Chinese company that sold products in Russia. He apparently did do business, but Maxim didn't exactly work for the company. He was actually doing deals on his own. He would use the Chinese company for credibility, but he would find his own clients. Basically, he would find a reliable Chinese supplier for whatever clients he was able to pull in. For example, he supposedly helped the company in Russia find wall plugs. So he would negotiate a price for the wall plugs with the Chinese company and then sell it at a higher price to the Russian company. And Maxim would then charge consultant fees to the client for his help. Maxim was reportedly sharpening his business skills in China. But why did the Chinese company allow him to use their company for credibility? The owners of the company were Russian themselves, so they felt compelled to do Maxim a favor. Maxim was someone from Russia, new in China, trying to make it on his own, just like they were doing once upon a time. Maxim wasn't all about spending money, though. He also sent some money back to his parents. One time, he told his dad to meet a friend to get a package he had sent to him. What was in it? Just roughly 1.5 million rubles in cash. This was roughly the equivalent of 48,000 US dollars. His parents were astonished with the amount of money he had sent back. Maxim reassured his parents that he made the money in a legit way, but it was still hard for people looking at his social media to believe that he had made that much cash just from helping businesses find Chinese suppliers. 2 years later in 2017, Maxim left China and went back to Russia to go after his true passion. Yep, he wanted to get back into rapping, but he still needed to be able to keep up his lifestyle. He apparently didn't want to keep finding Chinese suppliers for his clients anymore. And this is how he got on the FBI's radar. The FBI first learned of Maxim during the summer of 2017. On the same day he released his debut rap album called Goldie in July of 2017, Greece authorities coincidentally arrested a Russian citizen named Alexander Vinnik. Alexander didn't know Maxim personally. Alexander is widely considered the brains of the crypto exchange that Maxim frequently used, an exchange called BTC-E. That exchange was seized because it was found to be a giant money laundering operation for criminal organizations. Maxim's email was found to be on a long list of emails who were big clients for Vinix Exchange. The name that was associated with Maxim? The name Genghis on that exchange. Maxim was considered a big client because he put in almost $400,000 to buy and withdraw 136 bitcoins from the exchange. FBI at that time were examining who used the exchange, but they still didn't know who were the criminals and who were just crypto whales. It took the FBI almost 3 long years to figure out what Genghis was doing. Maxim was stopped at customs in Miami in 2020, and that incident got Special Agent Samantha Shelnick to lead the investigation that specifically focused into where his money came from. The FBI tracked Maxim's Bitcoin wallet activity and followed the money. They concluded that he was part of a large cyber criminal organization called CAS. This huge money laundering group was involved in cybercrime in up to 16 different countries. So how did they operate? CAS advertised its money laundering services in underground Russian-speaking online criminal forums. They laundered client money by opening several hundred personal and corporate bank accounts with shell companies they had set up. Then they would be able to wire large amounts of money stolen from victims and then have the money flow through different trails. They mostly use corporate bank accounts since those accounts are able to receive big amounts of money without raising the suspicion of bank officials. The strange thing was, CAS members sometimes registered shell companies and opened bank accounts using fake names and fake IDs. And other times they'd be like, nah, we'll use our real names and real IDs. CAS's clientele typically have access to groups of computers loaded with viruses, which are known as botnets. Once someone's computer is infected with malware, then the scammers are able to get the victim's banking credentials. That's when they'd start the wire transfers to CAS bank accounts. The crazy thing is how profitable their business was. CAS received a whopping 40 to 50% of their clients' money. At the time of his arrest, the FBI found out that Maxim conspired to commit money laundering all the way as early as 2015. Maxim's role was to convert the stolen money into different cryptocurrencies. He mainly controlled bank accounts in Hong Kong and the transactions that flowed through. Now, how did Maxim get into this network anyways? It looks like he was just good friends with one of the top guys. One of the biggest clues the US authorities had of Maxim's illegal dealings were what he posted on his social media accounts, particularly his Instagram. No matter how many criminals get caught because of their social media, they still want to show off anyways. It didn't matter how small his audience was, Boyko often posted pictures of his lifestyle. He couldn't help but want to let people know how he was living. Special Agent Samantha Shelnick said pictures from Maxim's Instagram were inconsistent with what a person with a legitimate business would post, and what he was actually doing were exactly the type of activities of what people with stolen money would be doing. The FBI concluded that rental income and legitimate Bitcoin investments could not have possibly generated the cash flow Maxim claimed. Think about it. Even if he did own enough real estate to generate the cash flow, how did he make the cash to buy the buildings themselves? Same with the Bitcoin. And since all the pictures of the stacks of cash were posted to a public site, his Instagram pics are able to be used as solid evidence. Maxim was in the U.S. for only 2 months before the U.S. Attorney's Office in Pittsburgh officially charged him with conspiracy to commit money laundering and put a warrant out for his arrest. Would things have worked out differently if Maxim never posted his pics on Instagram? What about if he didn't bring all that cash over on the plane? Would the police ever start to look into who he was? Would things have turned out any different for him? Amazingly, the timeline of the photographs found on Maxim's Instagram matched the timeline of his money laundering through Chinese accounts. One particular photograph posted on August 25th, 2015 shows a large stack of Chinese yen on a table with a label that reads Maxim and the date. He had been money laundering for people probably the entire time he was in China. Here's what's next.